Hello, it is Thursday, which means we are back again for another brand new episode of Star Trek Strange New Worlds, episode 8. Because as you know, over the weekend they did release those old scientists early. So if you haven't seen that review, will hopefully link my Star Trek playlist down below for you to go check that out. So yeah, this episode, uh, we got debated kind of with this episode because with the leading up to this episode with the promotional stuff, we thought this was going to be the Ortega centric episode that we were promised. And once again, we got debated in a good way because it focused more on Mbenga and Nurse Chapel this episode. Because a Klingon ambassador, one that has defected from Kronos, who also fought during the Klingon War that started all the way back in season 1 of Discovery, is coming to dinner. And that means those who fought in the war uh, that's now serve on the Enterprise, Mbenga, Nurse Chapel, and Ortegas, and a whole bunch of others that we don't know about, they're not all too happy with this. So this episode, to me, I enjoyed. I really, really enjoyed because it felt familiar to me in a sense. It felt like the season 1 episode of Star Trek Voyager called Detrell, between Neelix and Detrell, and the whole fallout of that war, as well as a few Deep Space Nine episodes. One in particular about Kira and this Cardassian at each other's throat type of thing. So it has been done before, but with a nice little twist to it at the end, and we'll get to there. Another great thing that I actually really enjoyed about this episode is not only did it give more character development to Nurse Chapel, but a lot of character development for Mbenga, because remember, in TOS, he only had 2 episodes in the original series, one in season 2 and one at the tail end of season 3. So the fact that he's getting a lot more character development through Strange New Worlds, I'm very happy about. So this episode is more of an Mbenga centered episode because he's the one who's affected the most from the Siege of Jagral or whatever it was called. Um, so yeah, that's what this episode is about. We have this ambassador who was there, who ordered not only for his men to kill any non-Klingon on site, but as well as a lot of civilians as well. And as I said, the people who fought in the war aren't all too happy that he's here. After when he asks to be shown around the Enterprise, when he gets to the bridge, we see that Ortegas is talking about what he's done in his past, because in the last episode, Boimler basically called her a war hero because she did fight during the Klingon War, and she's saying all this stuff, not realizing that he's just stepped on the bridge until Una's like, "Captain on the bridge," letting her know that, it's one of it reminded me of one of those moments where you're shit talking someone as they just appear behind you, and then you immediately go, "Oh, they're standing right behind me, aren't they?" And then you get promptly knocked the fuck out. But then there's also a dinner scene, which again, Nurse Chapel, Ortegas, and Mbenga really don't want to be there. As Mbenga's going to the captain's quarters, we do see Ortegas pacing back and forth because she really doesn't want to be there because of that. And one of the things that she brings up during the dinner is the old Klingon chant that they used during the war, which was "Remain Klingon," which I thought is, a really nice callback to, season 1 of Discovery. Again, not everyone's favorite show Discovery is. It's one of mine. I definitely do love Discovery, and I'll get to that whenever I review it. But yeah, I really enjoyed that. And as I said, this is more of an Mbenga centric storyline because we get flashbacks to the medical side of that battle on that planet, where we see Nurse Chapel just join straight away. Her first meeting with Mbenga, and then all the other stuff. On one of the cool references that I love about this episode is the fact that it kind of makes reference to Scotty and the TNG episode Relics. By storing someone in the pattern buffer, through the transporter, in order to save these people and to save space essentially until a proper ship with a proper medical bay can arrive. And we're seeing a lot more flashbacks, a lot more of the Klingon war than we did during season 1 of Discovery, which is one of my big gripes of season 1 of Discovery, is the fact that it starts this Klingon war that we don't see much of, and when we do, it's usually the in space battles, and we never see the ground combat, which is again another reason why I love the Deep Space Nine episode, The Siege of AR 558, because that was a ground centric episode, and we got to see the ground combat. I mean, in this episode, we see the ramifications of the ground combat, but still, it's nice to see. Even though they're not the proper uniforms, but I do like what we see of what uniforms that they are wearing at that time. To me, it looks really cool. As well, we get to see an Andorian, a species that we barely see a lot of in Trek. And I'm just basing this off of, as I'm watching season 3 of Star Trek, the original series, and from what I can remember about, TNG, DS9, Voyager, and they did show up a lot in Enterprise. But again, nice to see an Andorian. And again, I know in episode 6 we did see a hammer and all that, but that technically doesn't count because it's pre-recorded and a vision and all that stuff. But yeah, and then we get to the final conflict. After Mbenga and this Klingon was practicing some martial arts. He comes into sick bay, where and after Mbenga has these war flashbacks of him taking what we seen him taking up in episode 1 of this season, this serum that boosts the adrenaline and lowers the pain threshold for you to feel. We see him in these flashbacks taking it and storming and killing all these Klingons, essentially, whilst this ambassador escaped. And so they end up getting into this big kerfuffle as Mbenga's looking at his old chest that has that Klingon dagger in it, and then it doesn't show it. It implies that he is the one who killed him, because he was the real butcher of Jagal. And yeah, and in the end, that they put it on him, kind of thing. Like, it was a struggle. He fought in Benga because, again, fought in the war and all that, and then the episode ends like that. So I really enjoyed this episode. Like I said, it felt like Jetrel from Voyager. It felt like a few episodes from DS9 that dealt with the ramification of the occupation of Bajor. So I really, really enjoyed that, and I really enjoyed this episode, especially with the way they handled the ending, not going the way those previous episodes did in the past. And again, I love that we're getting more backstory for Mbenga, a character in the original series that's only showed up twice and had little to no background. He's the chief MO at this point in Discovery, not in Discovery, in Strange New Worlds, and by the time Kirk takes over the Enterprise with McCoy being the chief MO, we do know that Mbenga takes a step back as just a regular doctor aboard the ship. Anyway, that has been my review. Thank you all for watching. Make sure to subscribe if you want to see more Star Trek content, because tomorrow I have the last of the Star Trek movie reviews. So tomorrow's review is going to be for Star Trek Beyond. And I will warn, it is a nearly 25-minute video, because I do go talk a lot about how I think the USS Franklin fits in to everything. And then on Monday should hopefully be my season 3 review of Star Trek the original series, which I have about 6 more episodes to go, I believe, if my math is mathing correct. So I just have about 6 more episodes to get through before Monday, and then I'll have that review. So anyway, thank you all for watching. I hope you enjoyed. I'll catch you all tomorrow for my Star Trek Beyond review.